Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we got the pleasure of watching DeathRattleShakes from the North American server playing in his tier 10 Japanese medium tank, the STB-1. Now I went over a bunch of my YouTube videos and I realized that the STB-1 has to be one of, if not the most covered tanks on this channel. It just keeps popping up with absolutely incredible games, and all you have to do is really look at the statistics of this tank to know why. The best rate of fire of any 105mm gun in the game. 10 degrees of gun depression over pretty much all of the tank apart from at the very back of the vehicle. It's low profile, which means that its camo rating is rather decent, and that accentuates its armor, which at the front isn't that bad. 110mm in parts at the front, 130mm over most of the front of the turret. It does have a bit of a weak cupola, but this thing just seems to get it done. It is an absolute monster of a vehicle, and apart from a couple of drawbacks on it, it having the worst aim time on any of the tier 10 medium tanks, well, at least I think the joint worst aim time, along with the Object 430, and I have no idea what happened to the T22 medium tank, but that's probably been butchered as well. Also, its accuracy, well, it's not atrocious. It is .36, which is not wonderful, but it didn't seem to stop DeathRattleShakes there, putting in his first kill on the game on the American tier 7 light tank, the T71. So he's looking for a shot here on the IS-7. The IS-7 doesn't want to come around the corner. Maybe he's going to be able to get a shot if the IS-7 decides to go around the other side of Abbey. Now, one thing to note about this map is I still feel like it's not very well balanced. At least for heavy tanks when they try to make their way into the middle. Do you see the shape of the Abbey here? Because of the way that the Abbey faces, if I go above, do you see how the Abbey faces down towards the south? It's not actually facing towards the middle. And so what that means is that players who do spawn towards the south have clean shots. You can't hide behind the Abbey from the south spawn. However, if we go over towards the north spawn here, you'll know that because the Abbey kind of faces slightly south, you're actually very well covered from shots that might be on the opposite side of the map on the north here. So that's definitely something to watch out for. If you're a heavy tank and you're in the middle of the east, contesting the Abbey, to be very afraid if you've spawned north, because you're going to get shot from the south. But if you've spawned south, then you should be fairly safe from the north at least. So DeathRattleShakes put in 3 good rounds into the IS-7 there. I kind of feel a bit bad now that I didn't showcase them. But, you know, that .36 accuracy of the STB-1 didn't seem to really be a problem there. And I think it's only when you're trying to make, shall we say, hits at weak points, or alternatively when you don't have a lot of time to aim and you want to try and pull off a snapshot, that the STB-1 does start to choke, at least compared to the other tier 10 medium tanks. So DeathRattleShakes spots a T30 in the middle, and I think he also just saw something push that WZ-131. In fact, he did. There's a T28 prototype in the middle. This tier 8 American turreted tank destroyer. Great shot there. And there's the armor, there's the angled armor ricocheting the T28 prototype. And I think he's pretty much got the same rate of fire, if not a slightly better rate of fire than the T28 prototype. Probably because he's got a very good crew in Onigiri. And that shell seems to go in right through the side. And very, very quickly, we see the T28 prototype taken out. DeathRattleShakes is also a little unlucky there that he did low roll those shells. In theory, 3 shells should do, what, 1,170 damage? So he did actually need the 4th shell. But he was more likely than not to only need 3 shells to be able to take out the entirety of that tier 8 turreted tank destroyer. Oh my lord, no you didn't. No, he didn't. Well, of course he didn't. It wouldn't be featured on this channel if he did. DeathRattleShakes very nearly made an absolute catastrophic mistake there. He would have gone down into the sink. Well, actually from that position you don't die, but there's no way for you to get out of it, at least that I've been able to find. And that would have been absolutely horrendous. He would have been a life cut short in a great position of opportunity. So DeathRattleShakes is constantly trying to find a better position to engage his enemies here. And he's found it, right? It looks like they're pushing the T71 out, so he takes a blind shot. I'm not sure if that tracks the opponent that was trying to push the T71. And now he looks to the right-hand side of the Abbey to see if he can get a shot into the VK4502. So right now this game is neck and neck, but the enemies... Oh, actually, no, it's not. The enemies do have a bit of a slight lead here. They're up by 3 tanks. And we must make a mention as well as to how crazy this matchup was. There are only 2 tier 10 tanks on either side, with 1 tier 10 self-propelled gun on the enemy team as well. This is a hell of a matchup, especially considering that a large number of the enemy team are tier 8, with a handful of tier 9 propping them up. So DeathRattleShakes feels that once they've got past the Abbey, that position is no longer effective. And also, with the Grilla and the T-30 pushing their way round, he's falling back into the perfect location here to hold the center, as you're going to see. Was that an artillery that just fired over his head there? I guess he's a little lucky that the M53-55 didn't put one into the back of his tank there. But a lovely position here for DeathRattleShakes. He is able to just dominate the middle of the map here. And that T-30 and that Grilla are feeling, 7.5 rounds a minute, the near 3,000 DPM, well, base DPM that this tank has, is just dishing out the punishment on those 2 turreted tank destroyers. So they're dealt with, and good thing too that DeathRattleShakes managed to take them out quickly, because that's given him enough time to now deal with the onslaught from the heavy tanks approaching him. A nice roll there against the IS-3, 404 out of 390, shuts down the tier 8 Soviet heavy tank, but he's got to worry about the M103 coming around the corner. Now, it looks like DeathRattleShakes is going to start to use his heat rounds. You can see he's dabbed his 2 key once, and it looks like he dabbed his 2 key twice just as the M103 comes around the corner. Not sure if he meant to do that, but irrelevant. He manages to put 1 into the M103. The artillery hits him as well, and that M103 is suddenly not feeling too happy. The heat round bounces off the cheeks of the M103, and he now pushes his advantage. He knows that he's got a better rate of fire, finds the lower plate, shuts him down, but now he's got to deal with the T-54. Now he's on 6 kills. He's already got a top gun, 5,000 damage, but his job is not done. The enemies are pressuring the cap circle, but as it is encounter, it takes them an awful long time to do so. Now he gives his side armor here to the T-54, and really the first few mistakes of the game, really. Loading that double tap to have the heat on the M103, and he allows the T-54 to shoot him a couple of times, but finally finishing him off there, taking out the tier 9 Soviet medium tank. But unfortunately for DeathRattleShakes, his team is not doing very well at all. And when that artillery goes down, that means that DeathRattleShakes is in now a 1 versus 7. There are 2 tier 9s on the enemy team, 1 tier 8 tank and 2 tier 8 light tanks. Those tier 8 light tanks are something that he's going to definitely have to watch out for with their mobility. He's putting rounds into the pattern there, unsure if that one goes in blind. Runs backwards into the M103, but he doesn't have to worry about that too much. Looks like there's still only 1 tank in the cap circle. It's very likely to be that VK4502B that he was taking shots at earlier. Will he find a kill on the ISU? No, the ISU angles his armor, bouncing off the side. Will he be able to finish him off with the second shot? Another one right off. This is where that accuracy and the aim time in the STB-1 can punish players who either don't get exceedingly lucky or aim their shells very specifically. So 354 damage there to the WZ-132, who now escapes with his life. Finally connecting a shot there against the ISU-152, now up to 8 kills and 6,000 damage, with still 6 opponents remaining. And what's crazy about this is quite often when people are in contention for the one that everyone wants, the Kolobanov's medal, it's usually like 2 tanks and 3 self-propelled guns or something like that. Self-propelled guns, if you manage to avoid them, are quite easy to win in kind of like a 1 versus 5. But this is DeathRattleShakes taking on 5 tanks and 2 self-propelled guns at tier 10. That is definitely a significant undertaking. So the VK4502 thought that he was going to come from more downtown. He doesn't. He shuts down the tier 9 German heavy tank and makes his way on towards the T-54, who he catches unaware. Now the T-92 knows where he is, but he also knows where the T-92 is, and I love this play. The T-92 no longer spots him and he turns around. He doesn't want to go and fight the biggest gun in the game in a knife fight. He instead turns around and ambushes the WZ-132. Great play there. I really like that thinking. He predicted that the WZ-132 was going to come and support the self-propelled gun. He shuts him down, and just a few seconds later he also deals with the final remaining tank on the enemy team, the M46 Patton. Now up to 12 kills, but still 2 self-propelled guns remaining. Very large caliber guns on those American self-propelled guns. 879 health does not go a long way when you're hit by a T-92. So he's making his whereabouts known by entering the cap circle, saying, "Come at me, guys." he's got to be very careful that he doesn't knock down any of the buildings here, and it's going to require 2 shots to kill that tier 10 American self-propelled gun. The T-92 hits the building, and I tell you what, DeathRattleShakes must be happy about that. Now securing his 13th kill. This is the most kills that anyone has ever been able to get in a tier. He has joined, I should say. This is the most kills that anyone has ever been able to get so far in a tier 10 tank in the history of World of Tanks, at least that have gone up on replay websites. Nobody has ever got a Rosanai Heroes medal. No one's ever got 14 kills in a tier 10 tank. And DeathRattleShakes is going to be contesting it for it right now. Will he become the first? Only the M40/M43 left on the enemy team. Now I like the positioning here. What he wants to do is he wants to be in a position to proxy spot all of these corridors, but this is just a death situation. So many different avenues that the artillery could come from. But he's right there. The M40S/M43 doesn't take the shot. DeathRattleShakes doesn't flinch. He puts him down, securing his 14th kill of the game, the first ever player, at least that I've been able to find, to do so in a tier 10 tank. So what a result here for DeathRattleShakes of the North American server, the first documented Rosanai Heroes medal at tier 10. What an achievement. And I guess we shouldn't be too surprised that it happened in the tier 10 Japanese medium tank, the STB-1. So DeathRattleShakes picks up a plethora of battle hero medals here. He picks up a world first tier 10 Rosanai Heroes medal, absolutely fantastic. He also get a Naiden's medal for killing all of the enemy light tanks, a high caliber for his 8,251 damage done. Guess we didn't see 1,000 of that. It must have been those blind shots he was taking, as well as a defender medal for his defensive work against the VK4502, and the one that everyone wants, the Collar Banos medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, in this case 7. DeathRattleShakes had to fire off a huge amount of ammunition, as you would expect when you have to kill 14 opponents, and a lot of that was heat. And he didn't pre-purchase his onigiri, which means that even though he made 106,000 credits gross here, that is 26,000 in the red. But I couldn't give a flying monkeys if I was the first person to get 14 kills in a tier 10 tank and 1,670 base experience points. DeathRattleShakes, thank you so much for uploading this on the replays.QuickyBaby.com website, and congratulations to you on a world first. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel out. And click through up here or use that more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to see a plethora of other awesome tier 10 Japanese medium tank gameplays. And let me know in the comments down below, what is the largest amount of kills you ever got in a single game of World of Tanks at tier 10? For me, I think it was 10 in an Object 263. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.